did he maybe learn about what goes into making a player, a great quarterback at the next level?
There's a lot there, right? It's like, what's the infrastructure look like? What's around the player? I think that's key. I think the person is a huge part. I've talked about that a lot. What's the makeup, the leadership? How do they handle pressure? How do they handle pressure in a big city like ours? So a lot of those factors go in.
The Chicago Bears are currently in one of their most pivotal off seasons in their franchise's history, and this summer truly sets the foundation for the near future of this team, and if all goes right, hopefully have the Bears back to being one of the more competitive teams in the National Football League. But how we've gotten to this point where the Bears look like a team that has one of the brightest futures in the entire league has not been an easy route for the fan base or the franchise as a whole. The Bears have not won more than 8 games since 2018, and it's really felt like this team has not been a true consistent contender year in and year out since really the early 2000s. But I believe the tide began to change for the organization once they hired Ryan Poles from the Kansas City Chiefs to be their new general manager, and since that point, he has really done good move after good move after good move to put the Bears into this position to be one of the best up-and-coming teams in the sport. Obviously, the one that will go down in the history books and probably end up being the biggest move made in Poles' career was trading away the #1 overall pick in last year's draft to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for star wide receiver DJ Moore, the 9th overall selection and a 2nd-round pick in last year's draft, and then the Panthers' 1st rounder this year and a 2025 2nd-round selection. And as it turned out, the Panthers were the worst team in the league this past year, giving the Bears the 1st overall selection in the entire NFL draft. And that pick is going to turn into Caleb Williams in just another week, who many consider as one of the best quarterbacks to enter the draft in recent memory. But the Bears taking Caleb #1 overall was a pretty hot topic towards the end of last NFL season and early on into this offseason, because a good amount of the Bears fan base had a huge belief in their former quarterback Justin Fields, and many argue that trading away the 1st overall pick once again and getting a massive haul to surround Justin Fields further was the better route to go for the franchise. But as somebody who was not a huge fan of Fields when he came out of Ohio State and watched him closely the last several years and did not see the requisite development as a passer you would need to see to keep him as your long-term answer, it was a pretty easy decision for me ever since really around November, when it was clear that the Panthers were going to end up as the worst team in the league. And not even just because you're getting a more talented player in Caleb versus Fields, but you also get to reset the financial clock of having a quarterback on his rookie contract. Fields would be entering year number 4 this year, which means after this season, he would be due for a contract extension. The Bears theoretically could have picked up his 5th-year option, which would have been around $20 million for one season, which is a little bit more than double what Caleb Williams will be making per year. So when you break it down like that you're going to be getting a better quarterback for a cheaper contract, it really was a no-brainer decision for me. And as we got more into the offseason, it became very apparent that Ryan Poles and the Bears organization followed that exact same belief. And the Justin Fields era officially came to a close on March 16th when they traded him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round pick. And what the organization did from that point is what I really think Bears fans should be excited about heading into next season. With all the criticism surrounding Justin Fields, I do think it was fair to say from the fan base that the team did not do a great job surrounding him with proper weaponry and proper coaching to get the most out of him and get his true potential. When he came into the league, his offensive line was not very good. His weaponry was the skeleton of Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. His head coach and play caller was Matt Nagy, who we know is not a great coach. So Fields was not given a good situation to come in, develop, and take some time to truly reach his mark. But it is clear that the Bears organization and Ryan Poles realize that, and they're doing whatever it takes to make that different for their next young quarterback they're bringing into the team in Caleb Williams. And it really started at the trade deadline last season, trading a 2nd-round pick for Montez Sweat to be their premier pass rusher off the edge. Sweat, entering his prime at 27 years old, had 6 sacks down the stretch for the Bears, and after signing him to a massive extension, Sweat will be an integral part of the Bears defense for years to come. They also locked up one of the best rising star corners in the league in Jalen Johnson on really a bargain contract, a 4-year, $76 million deal. So really the first 2 big moves to start this new regime with Caleb coming in was locking up the team star corner, trading for a star pass rusher, and now 2 very important positions on the defensive side of the ball are taken care of. Safety Kevin Byard was also another addition, signing a 2-year, $15 million deal. He's going to serve as Eddie Jackson's replacement, who has been banged up the last several seasons. And now the Bears have a great safety duo as well with Byard and Jaquan Brisker. So the defense, which really improved after the Montez Sweat trade last year, I think is going to be really solid once again next season. But really where Ryan Poles started cooking, and really what I was mentioning by bringing up all of their offseason moves, was the number of offensive weapons to bring in to surround their new rookie quarterback. Starting off with tight end Gerald Everett, signing him to a 2-year deal worth up to $14 million. He's going to be a great combination with Cole Kmet, two guys that are really good after the catch. They signed a new starting running back as well in DeAndre Swift on a 3-year $24.5 million deal. And Swift, who I think is a good running back, not a great one, I probably wouldn't have him in my top 10, is more than solid enough to get the job done. Over 1,000 yards last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's dynamic and he can also catch passes out of the backfield. So for a young quarterback that needs a safety blanket or someone to just dump off passes to, I think Swift will fit really nicely in that role. And somebody else that will fit really nicely as a safety blanket for Caleb Williams is none other than Keenan Allen, who they traded for from the Los Angeles Chargers for only a 4th round pick. Allen has really made his mark as one of the most reliable receivers in the league. He has 5 NFL seasons, over 100 catches, and had a career year last year with 108 receptions for 1,243 yards and 7 touchdowns. So now you add Keenan Allen to a wide receiver core that already has DJ Moore, who is a superstar wide receiver. You have a new starting running back in DeAndre Swift to pair with Roschon Johnson. You've got 2 tight ends in Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett to run 12 personnel as well. And the offensive line, for the most part, is very, very solid. The Bears organization has spent a lot of resources on it in the past couple of years, and we are finally seeing the fruit of that labor. Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright, 3 young guys that they drafted that I do think are solidified as starters going into next season. Nate Davis, they signed last year to plug and play at right guard. He's a solid option as well. Coleman Shelton is probably the weakest player on their offensive line at center. Maybe the Bears use their day 2 pick to get a center to step in and replace him, but I do not think that is needed because this offensive line showed some promise when healthy last year. And the last big change was getting new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron to replace Luke Getsy. It was pretty clear Getsy was not fit to be an offensive coordinator quite yet. His play design and play calling in key spots got a lot of criticism, and while I do not put all the blame on him because, like I said, I was not a huge Justin Fields fan, I do think it made sense to go out and get a new offensive coordinator, a guy that has worked with another team, can bring in a new offense, a new system, and kind of just have a fresh restart with a new quarterback coming into the team. Waldron has done fairly well developing Geno Smith the last couple of years, making him into a very serviceable quarterback. So I think in just terms of experience and resume, the Bears are also getting an upgrade at the offensive coordinator position. So when you take everything into account, the coaching changes, the upgrades for the roster, at the top of the draft board, I don't think there's a better team for Caleb Williams to go to than the Chicago Bears. They have done a fantastic job the past couple of years, and especially this offseason, building out the roster to support a new young quarterback to come in and play. And if Caleb can just be solid next year, be around a top 15 quarterback, I do think the Bears have a legit shot to compete for a wild card in the NFC. I'm not going to be bold enough to pick them over the Lions, who just made the NFC Championship game, or the Packers, who were very close to making the NFC Championship game, but I do expect this Bears team to be competitive with those 2 heavyweights. And the last thing I really want to discuss is Caleb Williams and what we should expect from him in his rookie season. Now, Caleb is the most talented quarterback in this draft and has the highest ceiling, in my opinion. He can make every single throw on the field. He can extend plays and use his legs like elite quarterbacks we see like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. I think his playmaking ability will be elite from day 1, but there are a couple of things he does need to work through and develop at, which, I mean, every quarterback does when they come from college to the NFL. But Caleb, more specifically, he has to do a better job of staying in the structure of the play and actually going through his reads and firing to open wide receivers. At times at USC, he was missing open guys here or there because he was so focused on making things happen with his legs and outside of the pocket that he got himself into trouble sometimes. And that's another issue that he had, was fumbling. He had 33 fumbles and 31 starts during his collegiate career, and I do think those 2 things go hand in hand, of him just trying to do too much and then just being careless with the football. So that is something that new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron is going to have to keep an eye on and help him develop with. But I do think we're going to see a super dynamic player from the opening snap next season, and with a supporting cast around him, I would be fairly surprised if Caleb does not win Offensive Rookie of the Year next year and actually have a really, really good rookie season. But I'm going to be fascinated to watch the Bears this year and see how everything comes together and if they can win their first playoff game since 2011. But I want to know what you think about the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. Do you think he's going to have a big enough impact right away to win the Bears their first playoff game in over a decade? Or do you think it's going to take some time for him to get used to the NFL? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. and I'll catch you guys at my next one.